Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a topic that, let's be honest, can sometimes feel like a real chore, but it's actually an incredibly powerful skill to have. We're talking about the Harvard referencing system. We're going to demystify it and show you how it's really a practical toolkit for making your work sharp, credible, and just better. So let's get into it.
And right off the bat, let's just get this out of the way. Referencing is not just busy work. It isn't about jumping through academic hoops just for the sake of it. Think of it as the backbone of any good research or argument. It's how you show your work, give a nod to the people whose ideas you're building on, and officially join a much bigger intellectual conversation.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about the why this is a toolkit for knowledge. Then, we'll break down the 5 key ingredients you need for literally any source. After that, we'll look at how to plant little signposts in your text, how to format that big final list, and then we'll see how it all clicks together perfectly.
Okay, so why do we even bother with all this? Well, it's because referencing lets us be intellectual detectives. It allows us, and anyone who reads our work, to trace an idea all the way back to its origin. It gives us context, it shows how knowledge stacks up over time, and it creates this essential, verifiable trail of evidence.
Now let's get to the practical stuff, the core building blocks. And here's the great news. No matter what you're referencing, a book, a website, a journal, you name it, you're always on the hunt for the exact same essential pieces of information.
And that magic number is 5. There are 5 key ingredients. Seriously, if you can just train yourself to look for these 5 things every single time you use a source, you are golden. It makes the whole process so much easier.
And here they are. These 5 ingredients answer the most basic questions for any source. Who made it? When did they make it? What is it called? And, crucially, how and where can your reader find it for themselves? If you can dig up these 5 bits of info, you've got everything you need to build a perfect reference.
All right, so you've collected your 5 key ingredients. Now, what do you do with them while you're actually writing? This is where in-text citations come into play. I want you to think of them as little signposts that you stick right into your sentences to show your reader, hey, this idea right here, it came from over there.
And you basically got 2 main ways to plant these signposts. You can do a direct citation, where you make the author part of your sentence, like Greenbaum, 1998, argues that puts the focus on the person. Or you can do an indirect citation at the end, which keeps the focus on the information itself. Really, it's just a stylistic choice that depends on the rhythm of your writing.
Now, if you're using someone's exact words, a direct quote, you have to get even more specific. This is non-negotiable. Along with the author and the year, you must include the page number. This lets your reader find the exact spot you pulled that quote from. That little P15 is the final crucial piece of the puzzle.
Okay, but you know those academic papers that look like they were written by an entire football team? What do you do then? Listing out 4, 5, maybe even 10 names right in the middle of your sentence? Well, it gets pretty clunky fast. Thankfully, there's a super elegant solution for this. If your source has 4 or more authors, you get to use a handy little shortcut, et al. You just write the first author's last name and then et al. Et al is just a bit of Latin that means and others. It's a lifesaver for keeping your sentences clean and readable. But, and listen up because this is a really important detail, this shortcut is only for the in-text citation. When you get to your final reference list at the very end, you have to list every single author. No shortcuts there.
One last tricky situation you might run into, secondary referencing. This happens when you read about, say, Denscombe's old idea from 1946, but you didn't read Denscombe's original work. You actually read about it in a more recent book by Merton and Kendall. You just have to be honest about that. You write it as Denscombe, 1946, cited in Merton and Kendall, 2010. Simple as that. It just shows your reader the path the information took to get to you.
Okay, let's move on to the grand finale, the reference list. This is that comprehensive, super detailed list at the end of your document where all those little in-text signposts were pointing. Getting the format right here is what makes the whole system work.
The good news is, your final list is organized by just 2 simple rules, and they're all about making it easy for your reader. First, the entire list is alphabetical by the author's last name. Easy enough. And second, if you've got a few different works by the same author, you just put them in order by year, starting with the earliest one.
All right, let's get our hands dirty and look at a couple of specific templates. We'll start with a true classic, the printed book.
So here we have a perfect example.
You've got the author's last name, their initial, then the year in parentheses. Now notice the title of the book is in italics. That's a key marker for a book. After that, you've got the edition, the city it was published in, and finally the publisher's name. It's just a logical flow of information.
Next up, let's tackle another one you use all the time, a journal article. The logic is totally the same, but a few of the details are going to look a little different.
And this shows those differences perfectly. See how the title of the article is in single quotation marks? But the name of the journal it's in, Sustainable Development, that's in italics. Then you've got the volume number, which is 20, the issue number in parentheses, and finally, the exact page numbers for that article.
Now for online articles, you have two ways to point your reader to the location. If you use a regular web address, a URL, you have to include the date you looked at it, since websites can change or disappear. But the absolute gold standard is the DOI, the Digital Object Identifier. Think of it as a permanent, unbreakable link that will always point to that specific article. It's way more reliable, so if you see a DOI, always use it.
So let's put it all together now. This is where you really see the magic, where the in-text signposts and the final reference list connect to form this perfect closed-loop system.
So imagine you're reading along and you come across this quote, followed by that little citation in the parentheses. That little signpost tells you everything you need for your treasure hunt, who the authors are, what year they published, and the exact page to look at.
So you just scroll down to the reference list at the end, look under S for Stewart, and boom, there it is. The complete entry giving you all the details you need to find that book yourself. The signpost in the text leads you directly to the full address in the list. It's a beautifully simple system when you see it in action.
So, I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. Forget about grades or rules for a second. How does this process, the simple act of carefully tracing information back to where it came from, change how you think? When you follow that trail, does it give you a new appreciation for how ideas connect and how knowledge isn't just created, but built and shared over time? It's something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.